because there were people that knew things about the Bible, but I didn't have people that knew how to actually read the Bible, or how to understand it well. And so I remember as a young Christian, I would read the Bible and it was almost unintelligible, many parts of it. The stories, I could get something out of it, but anything prophecy related or even a lot of Paul's writings was just like a brick wall for my understanding. I understood Jesus fairly well in some ways, but I missed a lot. So over time, though, just listening to other speakers and my own personal daily studies, it's become a lot easier to understand how to get something out of the Bible. And what I want to share with you is a method that part of it I learned from someone else, part of it I've modified for myself. This really isn't new material, but it's a method I've found to be very consistent and simple to apply, and it's gotten me a lot of really good results. Now, this method consists basically of 3 steps. Let me just change this here. The first step, actually, let me blow this up. I think that'll do it. It froze. Yeah, there we go. Okay. The first step that you want to do when you get to a passage that you want to study is to list facts. This I'm going to make larger. Yes, list the facts. Um, Possibly amazing and possibly mundane. The challenge is you don't know when you first get there what's important and what's not important. It's just a bunch of information. And furthermore, when you read the Bible typically doesn't try to explain its oddities to you, especially in stories. It just gives a list of things that happen and it doesn't offer its own interpretation. And even Paul will, well, okay, of course Paul will do this, but he'll say something and it's like, what? And then he makes no effort to explain it whatsoever. So you don't know what's important and what's not. So the first thing you want to do is just list the facts that you see. I prefer to write them down because that way I can refer back to that list. I don't have to keep it all in my head. The second step is to ask questions. I gave this example last night, but it's worth giving again. I had an engineering teacher when I was in college, and it was my intro to engineering class. And the man was very arrogant, but for good reason because he honestly was very intelligent and he was a really good engineer. And in class, he told us one day that as an engineer, you have all of the answers. Because for an engineer, if they want to know like the tensile strength of concrete, you can look that up. People have done these experiments. All the numbers are in books. You have formulas. You want to know how much wind can go through a wind turbine? There's a law for that. It's called Bett's Law, BETZ. And so we have a wealth of information at our fingertips. But what he said is that as an engineer, you don't know the questions. And the key to good engineering, at least, is to ask the right question so you get the answer that will help you solve the problem. In an engineering situation, for example, if you're building some structure and you have like this big overhang over the edge, it's like, okay, how much force is going to be on this overhang? And that way you can decide what to build it out of so that it actually holds the weight. But you have to ask that question first. Well, how much is going to be out there? And then you can go through your calculations and your numbers and figure that out. Bible study works the same way. You have all the spiritual knowledge that you need locked up in the Bible. All the information is there. It's in front of you. You can turn to the page and look at it. But if you haven't asked the right question, the information is meaningless because you have nothing, you're not searching for anything. It's just there. You don't care about it. But as soon as you start asking questions, like, okay, let's ask a simple question: how do I pray? Now, some of that information becomes very useful, and other information you can say, this doesn't apply to prayer. I don't need to worry about it. You can go to those sections of the Bible that talk about prayer, such as Christ's model prayer, for example, and look at that. And now you can start finding those answers. Answers are there the whole time. It's just you never asked. So questions are super important. Also, they let you know when to stop. If I told you, go study Matthew chapter 10, who knows how long that would take? But if I give you a specific question to answer, there's an actual stopping point and you don't have to study something forever. So it makes sure you get to different topics. So then the last step is to find the answers. There's a variety of methods to do this. If you're the type of person that likes to philosophize, you can think about possible reasons for something. If you like to do word studies, I personally love word studies, but I'm a nerd. You can look up the words throughout the Bible and see how it, find that topic in different parts and see how that topic is presented there. It's one of my favorite methods. Maybe the answer is like 2 verses back. So you just have to read the context, like, oh, this verse explains this part here. There's different ways to do it, but once you ask the questions, find the answer and you'll get something. Now, as the type of teacher I am, like I told you before, I'm a math teacher. And as a math teacher, what I found most valuable is if I be quiet and simply let my students do the work. Because honestly, you're not going to learn hardly anything by listening to me jabber on about Bible study. Where you're really going to learn is when you do it yourself. So the rest of this time, we are going to practice. Now, the story, I want to do one story this first session that we can start on. And the second session, I would like to do a different story. Both of them come from the Gospels, one from Matthew, one from Luke. And my hope is that through these stories, you'll understand better how to apply these techniques. They're not difficult, they're not complicated, but they do require some practice. So the first story, why did I do that? I want this one. First story we're going to look at is, hey, why'd you do that? There we go. It's going to be in Matthew chapter 9. And this is in verses 27 through 31. It is obviously, because it's only 4 verses, a short story. But that's okay because there's some good stuff there. Make this larger. There we go. Okay. So we'll go to Matthew chapter 9, verses 27 through 31. Okay. We are going to apply the first step, and that is simply to list the facts that we notice. They don't have to be fancy stuff, nor do you have to try to get blood from a stone. If the verse doesn't say anything else, then you're done. Don't worry about it. So here, let me just get the ball rolling. The first thing that I notice in verse 27 is that Jesus is leaving a location. Because at the start of the verse, it says, as Jesus passed by from there, he's leaving somewhere. Would you say that is true, just given this passage here? Yeah, it's a fact. It may be important and it may not be. We don't know yet, but that's not the point. Okay, so I will let you all just, whenever you see something that is in the passage, some fact that you notice, let me know. I'll type it. Okay, so yeah, that would be something. 2 blind men started following him. Not Bim. There we go. Okay, good. Something else. They called him son of David. Good. Okay. Asked him to have mercy on them. Good. Jesus went to a house. Good. Okay. The same. We can at least say around the same place. Yeah. Maybe they were. Actually, that's something I never considered. Maybe they actually were there, wherever it was. Okay. Okay. He asked if they believe it. We don't know what it is just yet, or at least we haven't written it down. Wherever you want to go, anywhere in the story. Okay. The two blind men believed Jesus. Great. Keep going. This is good. Okay. There. Yeah. Their eyes were opened, got results. Good way to put that. Okay. What else? Okay. Okay. Left. And then they told everyone what Jesus had done. Okay. Good. What else? Ah, that's Jesus had told them not to tell everyone. My spelling's not that terrible, I promise. Just yeah, we'll get there. We'll address that. I'm sure we'll address that issue somehow. Okay. What else? Okay. They were healed according to their faith. Good. Anything else? They ignored his command slash warning. Okay. Anything else? Interesting. He really meant it. Okay. Anything else? Yes. That is the point of this first step. There are, I mean, we read the story, but we don't often stop and notice just how much information is packed into here. It's surprisingly dense in just 5 verses. And this helps us slow down and notice that. Okay. Anything else you want to add to the list? I'm going to add a really obvious one. It's been assumed in all this, but the blind men asked to see. No, we never said what they were asking in the first place. Anything else? Huh? Uh-huh. They were that's true. They didn't actually. That's true. It doesn't say in the story that they asked to see, does it? It just said have mercy on us. Okay. So, I'm going to fix what I said. Thank you for correcting me. Jesus what they wanted without being explicitly told. Okay. Anything else? We got another column if we need it. We're good? Sounds like it, or rather, it doesn't sound like it. Which one? Uh huh. Okay, so they left. So they left after being healed. Okay. They left after being healed. They did not become his apostles or anything like that. At least not that we know. Okay. Anything else? Good. I think this is an excellent list. And like the lady over here said, it's surprisingly large. Okay. Now for step 2. Actually, I'm going to combine this on this page just to hopefully make life a little easier. So let me move this down here. Okay. Step 2 is that there are aspects of this story that you may not understand. This is the time to start asking those questions. So if there's something on this list or something in the story that you're not clear on, or maybe you think you're clear on, but want to check anyway, just ask the question. I'll write down your questions. Okay, so where was Jesus departing from? So here, let me just title this questions. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, other questions? Why did they call him Son of David? That's an excellent question. What else? Whose house did they all go to? A nice person, probably, but who? Okay, anyone else? Other questions? What's that? Ah, okay. Why were they sternly told to tell others? Good question. That's a key part of the story. Why did they actually tell others and disobey? Okay. Why did they believe Jesus was able to heal them? That is a surprisingly important question for reasons we'll get into. Okay. Why was their healing based on their faith? Okay. Good question. Any others? I'm going to chip in a question here. Why did he make them walk all the way to the house before healing them? Hold on. Wait, hold on. I'm glad that you're thinking about this. This is a question to ask because if you look in the story, they start following him when he leaves somewhere. He doesn't even talk to them until he gets somewhere. You're really going to make a bunch of blind guys walk through the street all this way? That's a little, maybe rub people the wrong way? So, okay. Other questions? We have a good list going, but if you have something else. Okay. I think this is a good list. It'll keep us busy enough for the rest of this hour. Now, I want you to. Oh, go ahead. Go. That's a good point. Why bother if he was already famous? Good question. Okay. I want you to be impressed with the work that you all have done so far. We are clueless. Seriously, in 5 verses, we've created 9 different questions. some of which we may have an idea of the answer to, some of them maybe some of you know the answer to, and some that maybe you have no idea. What often happens to me when I go into some particular section of the Bible to study is that I think I know what's going on, and I'm very quickly proved wrong. That in reality, I know a lot less than I think I do. And one of my greatest struggles with any kind of Bible study is that I assume I know more than I actually do. So sometimes I'll ask seemingly really silly questions like, well, of course I know the answer to this. And then I'm blown away because it turns out I was totally wrong. So I'm warning you, it's one of the hardest things to overcome is just what we think we know. So good. Now we need to work on answering them. Pick a question that you want to tackle. I recommend an easier one, perhaps, just to get the juices flowing, so to speak. Um, Pick one. Don't care what it is. Okay, so let's pick that one. I'm going to copy it and I'll post on a new page here because it's an excellent question. Okay. Now, answering these questions can sometimes be very easy and sometimes be very tricky. Sometimes questions don't have a straightforward answer. This is one of those questions where it may be impossible to find like a thus saith the Lord, like the blind man knew because of such and such reason. That's okay. We can still come up with some good ideas of how they might have known that Jesus was able to heal them. So I'd like to hear your thoughts or parts of the Bible you may know about, or just, yeah, what do you think is the answer to this question? Why did they think that Jesus would be able to heal them? Okay. They saw, heard about him healing others. Sorry, I always like to put capital H's. It's just a habit I've developed. So, okay. So, well, the fact that he just raised a girl from the dead may have helped their belief there. Anyone else know or think they know something about this? Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. So this is not the only case like this. Okay. That could be an interesting study there. Uh-huh. So that's related to the son of David question then. Perhaps we'll take that one next. Um, but I'm glad you're thinking about that. Let me throw a wrench into this because I have studied this out, and so I want to share something with you. Do you realize that before this time, there has never been the healing of a blind man in the Bible? In the Old Testament, 0 blind people were healed. You have people being raised from the dead, you have people being healed of leprosy, but never blind people. How is it that they took something which had never happened before, they have no example of it, and they decided, well, he's got to be able to do this? Now, one reason may be hey, he's raising people from the dead, maybe he can do this, but they had no precedent. Perhaps. That is a possibility. Any other contributions? Why might they have thought this? Mm-hmm. Ooh. Ah. So there was a Bible text about this, isn't it? Is it Isaiah 61? Whew, okay, I got that wrong. Isaiah 35:5, you said. 35:5. Okay, yeah. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. Okay. So, you can say prophecy. So it is possible that they had heard this prophecy that, if I remember right, was pretty commonly known to be about the Messiah. And they're like, hey, wait, it's the Messiah. And he said he'll open the eyes of the blind, so he can do this. And so they did it. That's possible. What's nice about answering questions is it helps you see it from different angles and it helps you to dig a bit. It's like, okay, they could just assume that he knows, but maybe they really did know this Bible passage. We don't know for sure, but it sure helps to understand the depths of this. Okay. Anything else you all want to add? Mhm. It's true. They took God's word and was like, okay, this can be done. Let's go do it. Good. Okay. So I think we did a pretty good job with that one. Let's go back to the list. Now, we had heard about the son of David one. So let's tackle that because that is kind of a key part of the story here. So let's do a copy paste. No, not a file. Paste. Okay. Now, why on earth might they have called him the son of David? And well, yeah, why would that be significant to them? What do you all know? Okay. Uh-huh. Mhm. Okay. I'd like to see the prophecy though, because I know there are several that go along those lines. We obviously can't use the one in Revelation, which says that. So don't go there. But there are some Old Testament ones. While people are digging, any other thoughts you have? Why would they call him the son of David? Why would that be significant? Okay. Okay. Ah, yes. Good find. So he said he could do it. It's like, okay, finally, someone took me at my word. Good. I'm glad you found that. And I think he's quoting from Isaiah as well, but he made it really clear. I can do this. Mhm. Well, if you want one about David, you could use Isaiah 11:1. And much of Isaiah 11 is talking about the Messiah. It says that, yeah, a shoot will come out of the stock of Jesse being, David's line. And then it talks about the Lord's Spirit resting on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. More than that, maybe not more than that, you get the sense that the phrase son of David had a lot of meaning to the Jews living at that time. If I had to guess, it was something that the Pharisees taught about a lot. Because, like you were saying, multiple people called him son of David. This was fairly common knowledge. So, could say that. Let's see. Okay. Anything else you want to add to this particular one? You have the looks on your face like, there's not much here. So, which is fine. You don't really know what's going to happen with these questions. That's a good question. Uh-huh. It's true. And apparently the records were good enough that he had not one but two genealogies that worked that way. The one in Matthew and then the other one in Luke chapter 3, which also went through David. So I don't know if it was common knowledge, though. I mean, the guy on the street probably doesn't know all the genealogical records of the Jews, I don't know if they had a watch out in the different families, but the scribes may have known, the ones that actually had the records. So, but somehow Matthew and Luke got well, because of the importance of lineage in Jewish government, I mean, like, for example, the Levites were the only ones that could serve in the temple. And at the time when the temple was rebuilt, and you look in the book of Nehemiah and Ezra, they went through the genealogies of all the people that came to say, hey, we're Levites, we should be in the temple. And so they'd go through and it's like, okay, you check out, not you, and you we're not so sure about. So and they said, well, we're going to wait until a high priest is wearing the ephod before we can decide that one. So apparently their records were quite good. Even it was important to them as a government and as a culture, so they kept careful records. I guess you didn't need to do family tree studies like we do nowadays. So it was all written. Okay, why don't we move to another one? Let's see if I can cross this out. Yeah, strike through. No, that was shading. Anyway, I guess I won't be able to cross it out so easy. Pick another one that you find interesting. Why did they disobey? Okay, let's do that. There we go. Okay, so you tell me, why did they disobey Jesus' instructions? Either think about it or give a Bible verse, whatever works for you. So let your light shine before men. Okay, so it's like, hey, this is a good thing and we should let it shine. Okay, they couldn't keep it hidden. Okay, yes. Okay. 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 That's true. Yeah, that's why part of the reason why he made one. Huh? Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying though. That's one reason why Jesus wouldn't want this to spread, because it would just explode basically and make his life difficult. So we'll keep that for when we get there. Joe, did I see a hand? Interesting. Oops. Seriously, I mean, would you expect that? Man, if you have something good, I mean, if you have something to share, it's like totally. They were blind, not physically, but perhaps perceptually. They didn't understand the situation, I suppose. Mhm. Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So very hard not to tell people. So they had a lot of pressure against them to keep quiet. It's like, oh, I just, I tripped on a rock and now I can see, you know. I hit my head hard enough. I don't know. Seriously, that is a good point. What would you tell people? And you have to ask the questions like, well, if Jesus asked you to not tell someone something, that was really special to you, would you keep quiet? Could you, you know? Apparently, at times, God expects us to do some pretty difficult stuff. There's a lesson there. I felt that lesson before. Any other reasons you want to put on there? Why would they just go out and disobey this? You want to call this one good? Ah, yes, Desire of Ages, but it's important. Okay. They thought that Jesus was just being modest. They didn't think he was serious, even though he was stern with them, which had been pointed out, but he actually did mean it. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think we can do one, maybe two more. All right. Any other ones that you particularly want to look at? Yes. What does that mean when he wants you to be like him? Hmm. It's not in the story. Um, puts me in a dilemma because it's a really good question. It's a really important question. I mean, just I don't know if I want to answer that because I'm afraid. Uh-huh. Okay. That's a really good question. Okay. I think that is a worthy question. What can we learn here about being like Jesus? That is a very fair and useful question. Okay, so what can we learn from this story about how to act like Jesus? Show mercy. Okay. Um, Now what do you mean, like, what does it mean to show mercy? to do what you can. We may not be able to heal the blind, but we can do something perhaps. Good. That's a practical lesson. What else? Be thankful for help. What's that? Be thankful for blessings. Be thankful for assistance. Okay. I guess be thankful for what God gives us. That's pretty broad, so got to hit that some. Okay. Be thankful for what God can do for us. Okay. If we ask. Ah, yes. Daniel, go ahead. Oh man. I think this is the story of my life. Seriously, you can say something that's totally true at the totally wrong time. Good. Okay. What else? What else would you take from this story? Be humble. I guess the blind man asking him for help, coming to him. Good. I'll put and ask for help. That's true. There was a certain amount of humility there. So I'll delete that because it's more than just asking. Okay. Other things that you gather from the story? Our answer? That's, I don't know if you realize how many of Jesus' stories make this point because it happens frequently. In fact, we heard about it in Sabbath school. Joe, you were telling us about that. It's like, if you have, all things are possible to those who believe. And once he said, I believe, boom, blessings came. It's a very common theme in Jesus' life. And so it pops up here. Anything else? It's a pretty good list. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. Mm-hmm. Certainly. You don't just walk up to someone and say, "Hi, son of David." Yeah. They're like, "What are you on?" Yeah, so they had previous evidence of some kind that he had special power. Again, he just did leave a place where he healed a person. We didn't go into that question, but the last place he was at was Jairus. I think it was Jairus's daughter who had died, and he had resurrected her. And there was the whole wailing outside. Now everybody is celebrating, and Jesus just slips away, and now they're coming to him. So, okay. Anything else you want to take from the story? Yes. Okay. Willing to help even though it may hurt you. Yeah, if Jesus had never done this, I mean, what's two blind men compared to his whole ministry? But no, he doesn't think that way. The story of Manasseh, I think, would be a really good illustration of that. Letting him be born and 55 years of badness. So in the end, yeah, yeah, badness. Okay. Anything else you want to add to this list? Like I think, yes. Hmm. Mhm. When the disciples asked, "Increase our faith." But I think you're saying, like, have a little faith, how can you get big answers? Yeah, it's like, are you locked out of blessings because you only have so much faith? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Probably. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mhm. Mhm. That is a Mhm. So how do they get helped, I suppose? Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Uh-huh. There's also the verse that says that God has given to every man a measure of faith. So I think the answer to that can be quite complex and maybe even mysterious because we don't see the inner workings of the spiritual world. We, I don't want to say guess at them because God's given us a pretty good idea, but we're not always certain, like, oh, this angel came here at this time and spoke to this person. Um, yeah, I think that's a deep question, but it's a good question. Okay, it's 2:50. I don't like to run your brains into the ground. So take a 10-minute break and we'll start again at 3 o'clock. Be the last session. We'll do another story, one of my personal favorites, and I hope you enjoy it too.